Picture a company that hasn't laid off a single person this year. No headlines, no press release, no boxed up desks. And if you're 23 trying to get in the door, that company has quietly become one of the hardest places in America to get hired. That's happening across an entire economy right now. One of the strangest labor stories going, with almost no firings in it at all. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why entry-level hiring is disappearing without a single layoff announcement, and which jobs are on which side of it. This is the frontier economy. Let's find out where the hiring actually stopped. Here's what that freeze actually looks like before a single number. Firms in the jobs most exposed to AI aren't firing their existing 22 to 25-year-olds any faster than anyone else. They're doing something quieter. They just stop opening the next seat. Someone leaves, and the role simply never gets refilled. No incident, no story. Just one fewer name on the roster, quarter after quarter. The jobs where it's sharpest are recognizable. Software developers, customer service reps, bank tellers, office and file clerks, bookkeeping and auditing clerks, receptionists and information clerks. If you've applied to any of those in the last 2 years and felt like the door was unusually quiet, this is why. Here's the actual scale of it. Employment for 22 to 25-year-olds in the most AI-exposed jobs now sits 19% below where it would be if it had kept pace with less exposed workers the same age. And that gap is widening, not closing. It was 15% a year ago. Break it down further. In the most exposed jobs, employment for that age group fell about 11% since late 2022. In the least exposed jobs, over that same stretch, it grew about 10%. Same economy, same age group, opposite direction, depending entirely on the job. Here's the part worth sitting with. Your first guess for why this is happening is probably interest rates. Money got expensive, hiring got cautious, entry level took the hit. That theory has one big problem. This gap kept widening long after interest rates peaked. And it isn't just one study saying so. A completely separate analysis using Census Bureau data instead of private payroll data found the same pattern, hiring-driven, not rate-driven, and calculated that interest rate shocks explain at most a quarter of the decline. 2 different data sets, 2 different research teams, the same quiet conclusion. Nobody's cutting these roles because money got tight. They're just not filling them. If ruling out the obvious explanation like that is useful to you, subscribing means the next one lands the same way. There's a partial explanation for why this lands hardest on the youngest workers specifically, and it's worth one caveat-heavy sentence, not a full theory. The researchers' best guess is that AI is good at the kind of knowledge you learn from a textbook and much weaker at the kind you only build by doing the job for a few years. That would explain why hiring dries up for people who haven't built that experience yet. But that specific piece of the explanation gets shakier once you control for how many people in a role have a college degree. So treat it as a lead, not a verdict. If you've been mentally sorting your own job into safe or not this whole time, that's the right instinct. We're about to get specific. Quick one in the comments while we get there. Has hiring in your field gone quiet lately? Yes or no? A few honest caveats before we get specific, because this channel doesn't pretend a single study settles anything. These are descriptive patterns, not proof of a single cause. The gap shrinks somewhat once you control for education levels. Some of these trends started before ChatGPT existed, tangled up with the aftershocks of the pandemic, and the researchers behind the primary study say it themselves in their own words. They don't view this paper or any single study as definitive evidence of what AI is doing to the labor market. So which side of this are you actually on? Here's the short version. If you're in software development, customer service, bank teller work, office or file clerk work, bookkeeping and auditing, or receptionist and information clerk roles, that's where hiring has frozen up hardest, and software developer employment specifically is down about 20% from its late 2022 peak. If you're in nursing, psychiatric or home health aid work, marriage and family therapy, mental health and substance abuse social work, or in sales and financial management or law, hiring in those fields is holding up, in some cases growing, and fastest for the youngest workers in the healthcare roles specifically. One more thing worth knowing. This appears to affect women somewhat more than men on average across the workforce. The researchers themselves call that finding early and unsettled, not final, so hold it loosely for now. There's a public dashboard tracking these numbers monthly if you want to watch it update in real time yourself, and I'll leave that linked. One question before you go. Are you watching a role near you sit empty right now? And what is it? Tell me the actual job title. I'm collecting real examples for a follow-up. That's the frontier. Subscribe and the next one lands in your inbox before anyone else's.